My sister's fake tears ruined my life. Then I found proof of her lies. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. I will never forget the sound of my sister's sobs echoing in the living room that night. They weren't soft or shaky. They were loud, theatrical, and perfectly timed, as if she knew exactly when to break down. She sat curled up on the couch, clutching a tissue, mascara streaking her cheeks. My parents hovered beside her, their faces twisted in outrage as she pointed at me with a trembling hand. He hurt me, she choked out between sniffles, her voice breaking in just the right places. I didn't want to say anything, but I can't keep it inside anymore. The words hung in the air like poison. I remember looking at her, completely stunned, my brain scrambling to process what she had just accused me of. It wasn't just false, it was insane. But the way she said it, the way she looked so small and broken, even I almost believed her for a split second. I tried to speak, to defend myself, but my father's voice thundered over mine. Enough. Don't you dare deny this after everything she's gone through. His glare felt like a blade, and I realized in that moment. The verdict had already been decided. Within hours, the whispers started. My phone lit up with messages from friends asking if it was true, others quietly unfollowing me online. My boss called the next morning, his voice cold and rehearsed, telling me it would be best if I didn't come into work for a while. My life didn't just crumble, it imploded. And the worst part? She kept crying. Everywhere we went. At family gatherings, in front of neighbors, even at church. Every tear was a nail in the coffin of my reputation, and everyone around me hammered them in without question. But here's the thing about lies, they rot from the inside. Months later, long after my life had been stripped bare, I stumbled onto something I wasn't supposed to see. Something that could change everything. It was a video, and in it, my sister was laughing. It was almost midnight when I found it. I was cleaning out an old external hard drive, one I hadn't touched in years, looking for old resumes to update for yet another desperate job application. Among random folders and half-forgotten files was one labeled simply, Family Trip. I almost skipped it, but curiosity won, and I clicked. Most of the videos were innocent, shaky footage of us at the beach, my mom complaining about sand in her shoes, my dad grilling hamburgers. Then I opened the last file. The screen flickered, and suddenly, there was my sister, sitting in her bedroom, not crying, laughing. It was the kind of laugh that makes your stomach turn, not joyful, but smug. Her best friend sat on the bed beside her, holding a box of tissues. Between giggles, my sister dabbed at her dry eyes. "You have to do it like this," she said, tilting her head and practicing a tremble in her voice. "If I start crying before I even say his name, they'll believe me instantly." Her friend burst into laughter. "You're so bad," she teased. "Bad?" My sister smirked. "Please. He's had it too easy for too long. Mom and Dad already think he's a screw-up. This will finish him off. And once they cut him out of the will, guess who's getting everything?" I froze, my hand gripping the mouse so tightly my knuckles went white. The rest of the video was her rehearsing, over and over, those same sobs and tremors she'd weaponized against me. I didn't even know I was crying until I tasted salt on my lips. Anger burned in my chest, hot and suffocating. This wasn't just about lies anymore. This was calculated, deliberate character assassination. For the first time in months, I felt something other than despair. I had proof. Real, undeniable proof. And if I played my cards right, I could destroy her the way she destroyed me. The question was, should I go public now, or wait until I could make her beg? I didn't sleep that night. The video played in my head on a loop. Her smirk, her rehearsed sobs, the casual way she spoke about ruining me like it was just another errand on her to-do list. By morning, my anger had settled into something colder. Revenge wasn't just about exposing her. It was about timing. I'd learned the hard way that in my family, the loudest voice always won. If I went in screaming now, she'd twist it into another performance. "Look, he's unhinged, obsessed with me." No, I needed to make every move count. I decided to test the waters. I sent my sister a casual text. "Hey, found some old videos from the family trip. Remember that one night in your room with Katie?" Her reply came fast, too fast. "What videos?" I let the typing bubble blink for a moment, then stopped. Didn't send anything. Silence is a weapon. Within an hour, my mother called. What's this about you harassing your sister again? Her tone was sharp, defensive. I almost laughed. My sister must have run to her right away, spinning the story before I could even open my mouth. I bit my tongue. Just reminiscing, I said flatly. Funny how memories work. That night, my sister texted me again. Delete anything you have. Now. Bingo. She was scared. But fear alone wasn't enough. I needed her cornered, with no escape. And if I was going to pull this off, I had to find out who else knew about her scheme. That's when I remembered. Katie, her best friend, had always liked me more than she liked my sister. Maybe, just maybe, she'd be willing to talk. I found Katie's Instagram easily. She was still posting pictures of overpriced lattes and candid beach shots. I hadn't spoken to her in over a year, not since the day she sat in the courtroom behind my sister, glaring at me like I was the scum of the earth. I hesitated before messaging her. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard. Finally, I typed, Katie, I know you think I'm the villain here, but I have something you might want to see. No reply. Hours passed. Just when I was about to give up, a typing bubble appeared. Meet me. Tomorrow. 3 p.m. Same coffee shop as always. The next day, I walked into the cafe, heart pounding. She was already there, sunglasses on, scanning the room like she was in a spy movie. I slid into the seat across from her. You've got 5 minutes, she said. I pulled out my phone, opened the video, and pressed play. Her jaw tightened as she watched my sister's crocodile tears morph into smug laughter. When it ended, she leaned back, staring at me. I knew she was exaggerating, Katie said slowly, but I didn't know she planned it. Planned it? I echoed, leaning in. Katie sighed. She practiced crying in front of me. Said it was for effect. Told me if you looked guilty enough, the family would take her side no matter what. My stomach churned, rage boiling in my chest. Why didn't you say anything? Katie looked down at her cup. She told me she'd ruin me, too. I believed her. I studied her face. Do you still? She shook her head, her eyes flicking up to mine. No, I'm done protecting her. I'll tell you everything, but you're not going to like it. Katie's words poured out in a low, urgent whisper, like she was afraid my sister could somehow hear her through the cafe walls. She didn't just want to make you look bad, Katie said, glancing over her shoulder. She wanted to erase you. From the family. From everyone's memory. My skin prickled. Erase me how? She told people you were dangerous. That you might hurt someone. Katie's voice cracked slightly. She hinted at it to your boss before you lost your job. Said she was worried about everyone's safety. I gripped the edge of the table. That's why I was suddenly put on leave, I muttered, piecing it together. Katie nodded. And that wasn't all. She had access to your old laptop, right? The one you left at Mom's? My heart sank. Yeah, why? Katie swallowed hard. She put things on it. Things that made you look like a criminal. I don't know exactly what, but she bragged about it after a few too many drinks. Said if anyone ever doubted her, she had proof ready. I stared at her, trying to breathe through the rage. Every muscle in my body screamed to confront my sister right then and there. But Katie's next words stopped me cold. She's planning something else. Something soon. I overheard her talking to a guy on the phone last week. Said she needed him to finish the job. My voice was barely a whisper. Do you know who he is? Katie hesitated, then slid a napkin across the table. Scrawled in messy handwriting was a name I hadn't heard in years, but one that made my blood run ice cold. The name on the napkin hit me like a brick to the chest, Evan Mercer. I hadn't thought about him in years, but the memories came flooding back. High school troublemaker, older than the rest of us, always skating on the edge of the law. He'd been involved in something ugly years ago, and my sister had sworn she'd cut ties with him after it blew up. Apparently, that was just another lie. Evan, I said, my voice sharp enough to make Katie flinch. You're sure? She nodded. I heard her say his name twice. She told him she had one last step before you'd be done for good. A sick, twisting feeling grew in my gut. Done for good didn't sound like social embarrassment. It sounded like something permanent. Katie leaned closer. Listen, I don't know exactly what she's planning, but it's not just words anymore. I saw her pass him an envelope last month. Thick, like it had either cash or something she didn't want anyone seeing. I stared at the napkin, trying to force my mind to stay calm. Confronting her without proof was suicide. She'd just twisted into another performance, crying until everyone saw me as the aggressor. But Evan was sloppy. Always had been. If I could find him, maybe I could find out exactly what they were planning before it was too late. Katie hesitated before speaking again. If you go after him, be careful. People like Evan, they don't forgive, and they don't forget. I folded the napkin and slipped it into my pocket, my decision already made. I was going to find Evan Mercer, and if my sister thought her fake tears had destroyed me before, she hadn't seen anything yet. That night, a message appeared in my inbox from an unknown number. You don't know when to quit. Stop digging, or you'll regret it. The message glowed on my phone screen like a live wire in the dark. No name, no profile picture, just a black void and the threat. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the house made me sit up, straining to listen. My mind replayed the words over and over. Stop digging. You'll regret it. It could have been my sister, or Evan, or someone else entirely, someone I didn't even know yet. By morning, my paranoia had sharpened into resolve. If they wanted me scared, fine, but fear wasn't going to stop me. I'd already lost my reputation, my friends, and nearly my career because of her lies. There was nothing else they could take from me, except the truth I hadn't found yet. I started with old social media searches. Evan had always been reckless online, posting pictures that blurred the line between flashy and evidence. Most of his accounts were gone now, but I found a trail, a tagged photo from a dive bar 2 towns over. It was dated 3 weeks ago. That night, I drove there. The bar smelled like stale beer and cigarettes. I sat in the corner, nursing a drink I didn't touch, watching. An hour in, the door opened, and there he was. Older, heavier, but still carrying that same cocky swagger. He slid into a booth with a man I didn't recognize, but my eyes caught something in his hand. An envelope. They talked in low voices, leaning close. I couldn't hear, but I didn't need to. I pulled out my phone and snapped a photo, zooming in just enough to catch Evan's face and the envelope in one frame. I thought I was being discreet, until I felt a heavy hand land on my shoulder. A low voice growled in my ear. You shouldn't be here. The hand on my shoulder tightened, forcing me to turn. The man towering over me wasn't Evan's companion. He was bigger, broader, with a scar cutting through his eyebrow. His grip was firm, but not sloppy. This wasn't some drunk bar altercation. He knew exactly what he was doing. Let go. I hissed, trying to keep my voice steady. Not until you delete whatever's on that phone, he said, his tone low enough that only I could hear. His eyes flicked to Evan, who was now very aware of me and whispering urgently to his friend. I realized then, this wasn't random. They'd spotted me the moment I walked in. I forced a shaky laugh, pretending I didn't know what he meant. I'm just having a drink. You've got the wrong person. His smile was humorless. Wrong person doesn't park 2 blocks away and spend an hour watching the door. Every muscle in my body screamed to run, but his bulk blocked my only path to the exit. My pulse pounded in my ears. If I handed over the phone, I'd lose the only lead I'd found in months. So I made a split-second choice. I fumbled the phone accidentally and let it fall to the sticky floor, screen down. He bent to grab it, and I bolted. Chairs scraped, voices shouted. I heard heavy footsteps pounding behind me as I pushed through the bar's back exit into an alley that smelled like garbage and rain. I didn't stop until I reached my car, slamming the lock button the second I got inside. My hands shook so badly I could barely put the keys in the ignition. I drove away, heart hammering, checking the rear view every few seconds. When I finally pulled into my driveway, there was an envelope taped to my front door. No address, no name, just 2 words written in thick black marker. Last warning. I froze on the porch, the envelope feeling heavier than it should in my hand. My eyes scanned the street. No movement, no cars I didn't recognize, no shadowy figures lurking. But my gut screamed that whoever left this knew exactly when I'd be home. Inside, I locked every door, pulled the curtains, and sat at the kitchen table with the envelope in front of me like it might explode. My fingers hesitated before tearing it open. Inside was a single photograph. Grainy, taken from a distance, but unmistakable. It was me, in the alley behind the bar, seconds after I ran. My head was turned just enough for my face to be clear. On the back of the photo, in the same blocky handwriting, was another message. Stop digging, or next time it's not just a picture. A cold wave of fear rolled over me. This wasn't just about Evan's lies anymore. I was treading in something deeper, something dangerous. I grabbed my phone to call someone, anyone, but stopped mid-dial. Who could I even trust? If I went to the police without proof, they'd either dismiss me or tip off the wrong person. My sister had done worse with just fake tears. If these people were willing to stalk me, they'd have no problem making me disappear. But as I sat there, staring at the photo, something clicked. In the corner of the image was a sliver of neon light, part of a sign. Not from the bar, from somewhere else. It was a lead. A dangerous one, but still. I knew what this meant. If I followed it, I'd either find the proof I'd been chasing or end up confirming every threat they'd just made. I set the picture down, took a deep breath, and started packing a small bag. I wasn't stopping. That's when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. I know what your sister did." My hands shook as I stared at the message. For weeks, I'd been clawing in the dark, piecing together fragments, and now, suddenly, someone was offering me light. Or maybe bait. I typed back cautiously. "Who is this?" The reply came almost instantly. "Not safe over text. Meet me at the old train depot. Midnight. Come alone." Every instinct screamed trap. The old depot was abandoned years ago, a perfect place for someone to make sure I never asked questions again. But the mention of knowing what my sister did burned in my brain. If there was even a 1% chance this person had real proof, I had to go. At 11:45 p.m., I pulled into the depot lot. My headlights cut across rusted tracks and graffiti-covered walls. The air smelled like damp concrete and old smoke. I killed the engine, gripping the pepper spray in my pocket. A shadow moved near one of the columns. A man stepped into the faint light, mid-40s, wearing a frayed hoodie and a baseball cap pulled low. His eyes darted around like he expected to be followed. "You're her brother?" he asked, his voice rough, low. I hesitated. "Depends on who's asking." He gave a humorless smile. "Let's just say I used to work with your sister, and I saw what really happened that night." My pulse pounded in my ears. "You're telling me you were there?" "Not just there," he said, glancing over his shoulder. "I was the one who helped her set you up." The world tilted. I took a step toward him. "Why are you telling me this now?" He reached into his bag and pulled out a flash drive. "Because she double-crossed me, and I'm not going down alone." Before I could respond, a sharp sound cut through the night, the distinct crunch of footsteps on gravel. We weren't alone. The man's head snapped toward the sound, his posture instantly tense. I could barely breathe, my grip tightening on the pepper spray in my pocket. From the shadows beyond the depot's crumbling wall, two figures emerged. Both wore dark hoodies, faces hidden. The taller one had the unmistakable stance of someone carrying a weapon under their jacket. The man with the flash drive swore under his breath. "She must have sent them." My stomach nodded. "Who?" He didn't answer. Instead, he shoved the flash drive into my hand so fast I almost dropped it. "Whatever happens, don't let them get this." The taller figure barked. "Hand it over, Mark." His voice echoed in the hollow depot. Mark took a slow step back. "Not gonna happen." The other figure moved toward me, and instinct took over. I turned and ran, heart hammering in my chest. Behind me, I heard the sound of a scuffle, the thud of fists, the scrape of shoes on concrete. Then a sharp cry of pain. I didn't look back. I bolted through a gap in the fence, cutting my hands on the twisted metal, and sprinted toward my car. My breath came in ragged gasps as I fumbled with the keys. Just as I got the door open, I saw Mark stumble out from behind the wall. His hoodie was torn, blood darkening the fabric near his ribs. "They're coming," he panted, eyes wide. I reached for him, but he shook his head. "Go? Now." In my rearview mirror, as I sped out of the lot, I caught one last glimpse. The two hooded figures dragging Mark back into the shadows. And in my pocket, the flash drive felt like it was burning a hole straight through me. I didn't stop driving until I was 3 towns away, parked in an empty gas station lot under a flickering light. My hands trembled as I pulled the flash drive from my pocket. Every instinct screamed at me not to plug it into my own laptop. If the wrong people were looking for it, they might be able to trace me. Still, the curiosity was unbearable. I opened my old, disconnected backup laptop, the one I hadn't touched in years, and slid the drive into the port. A single folder appeared. Proof. Inside were dozens of video files, emails, and scanned documents. My stomach flipped as I clicked on the first video. It was my sister, sitting in a lawyer's office, laughing. Not crying, not broken, not the innocent victim she pretended to be in front of the police and our family. I can't believe they bought it. she said, leaning back in her chair. The man across from her, the same one from the depot, Mark, looked uneasy. This isn't going to hold forever, he warned. She smiled that cold, triumphant smile I knew too well. It doesn't have to. Just long enough to ruin them. The next file was an email thread between her and our parents. My chest ached as I read it. They had helped her craft the story, coached her on details, and even discussed how to keep me isolated. My hands tightened into fists. All this time, I'd been fighting to prove I wasn't the monster they made me out to be, and here was the blueprint of my destruction. Then I opened the last document. It wasn't about me at all. It was a ledger. Names, dates, and payments that linked my sister to people I'd never heard of, and large sums of money moving offshore. And at the very bottom, in bold red letters, was a single phrase: insurance. If she turns. Before I could process what it meant, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. We know you have it. The message burned on my screen, every letter a threat. My first instinct was to throw the phone out the window, but if they knew I had the drive, destroying my phone wouldn't erase the fact. They knew where to find me. I shoved everything back into my bag and hit the road again, headlights cutting through the dark. Every pair of approaching headlights felt like a tail. Every shadow in my rear view felt like it was gaining on me. I pulled into a cheap roadside motel, paying cash, not even giving my real name. The desk clerk didn't ask questions, just slid me a key without a smile. The room smelled like bleach and old cigarette smoke, but at least it had a lock. I sat on the bed, replaying the videos over and over. My sister's voice echoed in my head, smug, venomous, certain she'd won. But now I had the key to burning her little empire to the ground. Still, the ledger terrified me. Offshore accounts. Unknown names. If these people were willing to pay her to ruin me, what else were they willing to do? I decided to make copies. I uploaded the entire drive to an encrypted cloud storage I'd set up years ago and sent a backup to a trusted friend, someone outside the family, someone my sister wouldn't think to target. As I finished, a noise from outside made me freeze. Slow, deliberate footsteps along the motel balcony. They stopped right outside my door. My heart pounded as a shadow appeared at the bottom of the doorframe. A slip of paper slid under it. I crept forward and picked it up. For words, written in block letters. Return it. Or else. I stared at the note, my pulse thundering in my ears. The handwriting was neat, deliberate, the kind that didn't care about being recognized. Whoever wrote it knew I'd understand the message wasn't a bluff. I flung open the door, but the walkway was empty. Just the dim hum of the flickering neon motel sign and the distant sound of a highway. Whoever had been there was gone. Locking the door, I pressed my back against it, my mind racing. If I returned the drive, I'd lose my only weapon against my sister. But if I kept it, I was inviting whoever they were to escalate. I tried calling my one trusted friend who had the backup. No answer. Straight to voicemail. A chill crept up my spine. Hours later, sleep was impossible. I sat with the drive in my lap, going through the files again. One document caught my eye, a scanned contract with my sister's name on it, detailing her payout for services rendered. The service? Framing me. The payout? Enough to buy her silence forever. I took screenshots, saved them separately, and sent them to an anonymous email I'd created. Insurance. Just before dawn, my phone buzzed again. A new message, this time with a blurry photo attached. It was my car, parked outside the motel. The text read, "Last warning." My chest tightened as I stared at the message. They knew exactly where I was, and they wanted me to feel trapped. I didn't run. Not this time. I dressed, slipped the flash drive into my jacket, and walked straight to the police station with every shred of evidence I had. No more hiding. The detective on duty raised an eyebrow when I laid it all out. The photos, the contracts, the recordings. At first, I could see the doubt flicker in his eyes. But as the documents piled up and the timeline fell into place, his skepticism faded. Within hours, they were on it. My sister's allies weren't as loyal as she thought. One cracked the moment police pressure mounted, confirming the scheme. That evening, I was called back to witness the arrest. My sister stood in her designer coat, trying to cry, but the tears didn't come this time. Cameras flashed, reporters swarmed. She looked at me over her shoulder, her face pale, her voice trembling. "You think you've won?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Weeks later, with her awaiting trial, my name was finally cleared. The apologies from relatives came late, and some never came at all. But the weight was gone. I burned the last copy of the files in my fireplace, watching the ashes swirl. Justice had cost me years, relationships, and peace of mind. But as I closed the door on that chapter, I realized I'd finally taken back my life.